Hey guys, Level Cap here, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Gaming. There's plenty of cool updates to first-person shooter games this week. Let's get into it. Starting off, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds has an official PC 1.0 release date of December 20th. That means the game will be in its final retail version. It will no longer be early access. All the cool optimizations, including vehicle physics, vaulting, and optimizations, will be in the standard live edition of the game. In addition to that, if you've downloaded the test server client for PUBG, you can also play the new desert map right now. I made a first impressions video yesterday on the new desert map, and for the most part, I like it. There's several new weapons that have been added to the game as well, including the Winchester 94, which is a new weapon exclusive to the desert map, and there's also a cool Rhino style revolver and a sawed-off shotgun that you can use in your pistol slot. There's also 3 new vehicles, including a Volkswagen camper van, we have a pickup truck, and a really ghetto-looking jet ski. Apparently a lot of people have been having some considerable performance improvements with the new Miramar map. Whether or not these performance improvements will continue on for the standard map as well is not yet clear, but it certainly is hopeful, since that is basically the #1 request from all hardcore PUBG players right now is better frame rate, better netcode and performance. Now, one does have to wonder whether or not the official release of PUBG will change anything about how quickly the game is actually selling. It's already broken just about every single Steam record to date, and it's topped 3 million concurrent players. Absolutely insane, definitely one of the most popular first-person shooters in gaming history. Now, hot on the heels of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is Epic's Fortnite. Launching their Battle Royale game mode, Fortnite has skyrocketed in popularity as a free-to-play shooter. One of the coolest recent additions to the game is a new mode where it allows players to team up on teams of 50 versus another team of 50. Instead of your standard solo, duos, or squads of 4, you now have 50 players that you can team up to build absolutely massive fortresses and fight another team of 50 players. I personally haven't played this yet, but if the trailer showing off this game mode is anything like what the gameplay actually is, it could be absolutely groundbreaking for the Battle Royale genre. In addition to that, their recent patch has improved the performance of the game greatly, improving frame rate and visual quality. Not to mention they updated probably my least favorite part of the game, which was inventory management. They've completely reworked inventory management with a new UI system, and it works much better now. And they've included some additional weapon stats, so you can have a better idea of what the difference is between a green weapon, a blue weapon, a purple, and a legendary weapon. So that's kind of cool too. Rather than just knowing one gun is better, you can now have a better idea of how much better it is. Do you guys remember Dying Light, that first-person zombie shooter game? I think I did a video on it a couple years back. It was actually pretty cool. The graphics were good, the gameplay was fun. Well, guess what? They're releasing a standalone Battle Royale edition. Apparently this was heavily requested by fans, and the devs know that the Battle Royale scene is blown up right now, so why not get in on it? I'm excited by this because I think the zombie element is going to be there along with the PvP element as well, which would really make it the first Battle Royale zombie shooter. I mean, DayZ sort of was like that, but they never made an official Battle Royale game mode out of it. The standalone expansion is called Bad Blood, and it should be out sometime in 2018. If you want to sign up for the early access playtest, you can do so on the website. Battlefield 1 has been ramping up their CTE content in anticipation of the new Turning Tides DLC, which is dropping on the 11th. Recently, they offered a limited playtest of the new Zeebrugge raid map, which was only in the white box stage, but you still got a very good feeling of what the overall map would play out like. Heavily influenced with naval warfare, it also comes with the option to spawn in a C-class airship, which is a smaller 4-man airship that has multiple weapons and bombs. I actually really enjoyed watching a smaller airship nimbly move its way throughout the map, and even when I flew it, it was a bit of fun, although it does go down pretty darn quick once the enemy gets their sights on you. This map will not be releasing with the first 2 Turning Tides maps, but will come later in January. In addition to that, DICE updated the CTE with the ability to play the new operations on the 2 maps that are coming out on the 11th, and it was interesting to say the least. I had some big issues with the foggy nature of the first beach assault, as I spent a huge portion of the game just dying to airplanes and random artillery fire from the destroyer. Not exactly fun gameplay mechanics in my opinion. Hopefully DICE can do something about that, but at this point it's probably too late. We did, however, manage to push through Cape Hell and onto the second map of Achibaba, and that one was actually quite fun. I enjoyed how that map progressed, and it surprisingly wasn't too choke pointy with 64 players, but the airburst mortar did come in quite handy for trying to get rid of some of the defenses. I did really enjoy how the trench warfare on that map played out, and hopefully we can push through the first map much more frequently to get to that one, as it was the better of the two. Now, I've heard a little bit of conflicting information on this, but I still believe the new weapons update patch is coming out on the 11th with this DLC, and that means that we're going to see a big shift in the overall weapon performance, which should be one of the biggest patch changes that Battlefield 1 has had since launch. As I said in my Zabruga raid video that I made earlier this week, I'm almost as excited about the weapons update patch as I am for the new content, as it's going to really change up many things about the base game of Battlefield. Star Wars Battlefront 2. For the first time in a while, the news surrounding the game isn't about their loot crate system. First of all, they launched a new trailer for The Last Jedi season, which will be free to anyone who bought the base game, and it comes with some pretty cool looking combat surrounding the crate battle. This is something that we see in the trailer for The Last Jedi, or many of the trailers for The Last Jedi, and it looks awesome. We have the new AT-M6s in full glory, marching down the white and red plains toward the Rebel base. We also get a glimpse of Finn and Captain Phasma, who will be two new heroes in this season. Captain Phasma just looks badass all the time, and I hope she's very, very chromy in-game. Beyond that, DICE has also made a big patch to the game which fixes numerous bugs and exploits, but it also increases the credit gain substantially so that players can unlock things at a much faster rate. Also, there's rumors that the loot crate system may not be returning in any sort of pay-to-win microtransaction model at all in the future. This decision may have been made to avoid bad publicity, considering the just shitstorm that DICE created with their initial loot crate system, but it also might be a decision based on the fact that many countries are looking towards legislation to make loot crate systems illegal. The two YouTubers, T Martin and Syndicate, have basically dodged a massive fine from the FTC regarding their failure to disclose the fact that they owned a share of the CSGO Lotto website, creating videos in which they pretended to have come across a new skin gambling website and then proceed to gamble on the site and win lots and lots of money. They encouraged their fans to go gamble on the site. Not only was this a huge conflict of interest, but the failure to disclose this goes against the FTC guidelines. Now, many people are quite upset that the FTC chose not to fine either of these two YouTubers, especially considering that they did fine Machinima and Microsoft for a failure to disclose an Xbox sponsorship several years back. Instead, they're putting the two YouTubers under strict scrutiny and will be monitoring their channels very, very closely to make sure that they follow these guidelines. As a YouTuber myself, I am quite aggravated with the outcome of this, as the FTC could have used it as an opportunity to set an example to follow the rules and make everybody aware of the disclosure rules. And I have a feeling that the FTC took quite a bit of leniency on these two for being so young. I think that's an unfortunate approach to take on this, considering that so many of the huge YouTubers out there are very young. And although we can't force them to behave in morally responsible ways, we can at least force them to follow the FTC guidelines. And if other YouTubers are learning anything from this, it's that we can fuck up in a pretty damn big way, and the worst thing that's going to happen is that the FTC is going to give us a little slap on the wrist and say, "Don't do it again, we're now watching you." At the very least, you might expect companies like Activision to distance themselves from people promoting gambling websites that are very much geared at children, and yet they're still being very much tied up in the Call of Duty IP, which is disappointing to say the least. At the end of the day, Activision knows who their audience is, and they know what YouTubers their audience watch, so I guess it doesn't really matter what the moral implications are, as long as you're selling more copies at the end of the day. Anyway, that wraps it up for today's episode of This Week in Gaming. Many cool things to look forward to patch-wise, especially Battlefield 1 next week. I'll catch you guys next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.